Excellencie, Panie Posłanki I Panowie Posłowie. As you can see, I didn't get a lot of time to study Polish. Dzień dobry. Witam w ambasadzie Kanady w Polsce. Before I don't want to say it in the Russian way, but Polsce, is that right? Before I continue with my remarks, I would very much like to say a few words about Jeremy Wallace, who, as many, if not most of you know, served as chargé d'affaires for over a year between Stephen DeBoer's departure last summer and my arrival this fall. It's not an easy role to play, especially when at any point he could have been told of the imminent arrival of a new ambassador. But even at that, he didn't just hold the fort. He was steady in his focus on responsible and responsive management while enhancing Canada's place in a very active and dynamic bilateral relationship. Je suis reconnaissante et aimerais lui offrir un petit cadeau pour souligner mon appréciation. So I have a couple of little things here for you. Wow. This is a certificate that you can put up on your wall.
Thank you. I don't remember writing this.
Decathlon gift certificate.
Oh my goodness.
For those of us who have been posted to Europe, Decathlon, one of our favorite stores. And Canadian beer for after your next
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Chers amis, chers collègues, distingués invités, il me fait grand plaisir de vous accueillir ici dans la salle du Canada à l'ambassade du Canada en Pologne. It is a pleasure and an honor, dear friends and colleagues, to welcome you to the Embassy of Canada as Canada's Ambassador to Poland. I was very proud to present my credentials to President Duda last Friday, and it is a great privilege to represent my country in Poland. I look forward to working with my colleagues here at the Embassy, and I've met every one of them, and it's been such a joy. It's a happy, happy place here at the Embassy. People seem to enjoy their job, enjoy their colleagues, love the challenges, so it's been a real delight discovering the team here as we build on our strong bilateral ties. Already in my time here, I have learned so much about Poland, about the key issues that matter to the region, and the rich ties that bring Canada and Poland together. We have a great story of cooperation to tell, and it bears repeating. Let me share perhaps just a few highlights. Canada boasts a very large and vibrant community of Polish Canadians, some 1 million strong, living in all the different parts of our great country. And Polish Canadians have contributed in all walks of life in Canada, including as artists, engineers, journalists, athletes, politicians, I could go on. Poles have enriched Canada and contributed to our diversity and understanding of other people and countries. An important thing to bear in mind when we talk about the contribution of Poles to Canada is that Polish immigrants have been coming to Canada since before Canada was even founded in 1867. Figures such as Kazimierz Gazowski, in Canada we call his great-grandson Peter Zalski. He was an engineer and a member of the Polish nobility. He came to Ontario in the 19th century and built bridges and railroads, quite literally contributing to the building of our nation. His great-grandson, who I mentioned, Peter Zalski, was the most famous Canadian broadcaster of his generation, an icon of Canadian television and radio in the 70s and 80s. I grew up in a CBC radio home, and the theme music to Morningside is still very prominent in my memory, and it's one of the shows that he's most identified with. We also have it from good authority that the great one himself, the greatest hockey player to some people, who ever lived, Wayne Gretzky, had Polish roots. The list of great Polish Canadians is too numerous to name here, but let me mention one last one, who is much loved in Poland, Leonard Cohen. In fact, when I visited Zakopane a couple of weeks ago for some hiking with my son, I was delighted one morning in the dining room as I had breakfast to hear Leonard Cohen's distinct voice over the radio, and I have since discovered how popular he is in Poland. Canada and Poland are NATO allies. We were in fact the first ally to ratify Poland's accession to NATO. Our soldiers now serve shoulder to shoulder in Latvia under Canada's leadership of the NATO Enhanced Forward Presence battle group there. Following our significant deployment of soldiers on Polish soil from 2014 to 17 under NATO's Operation Reassurance, we are proud to have several members of Canada's armed forces serving in key roles today in NATO headquarters in Poland, including in Szczecin, Bydgoszcz, and Elbląg. Indeed, Canada's security commitment to this region is long-standing. Canada and Poland fought side by side in World War II, including key battles such as Monte Cassino, Italy, where many Poles and Canadians are buried. And where Polish soldiers ultimately triumphed in taking this key position. And before that, let's not forget, particularly in this year in which we celebrate 100 years of Polish independence, that Canada trained ethnic Poles during World War I at Niagara-on-the-Lakes, Kościuszko, These Camp Kościuszko, these soldiers subsequently joined the war effort in Europe and helped Poland regain its independence in 1918. Last Tuesday, I was in Krakow to honor the war dead in Krakow Cemetery, and I was able to spend a few minutes with each of the 15 Canadian soldiers who are buried there. These are the ties that bind. To commemorate this Canadian contribution to the rebirth of Poland, the Embassy of Canada plans to exhibit for our embassy fence telling the story of Niagara-on-the-Lake's Camp Kościuszko and the international cooperation by allies that made this possible. But more to come on that another time. Poland is Canada's most important trade and investment partner in Central and Eastern Europe, with annual bilateral trade reaching over $2.6 billion in 2017. Since the provisional application of CETA, Canada-Poland trade has continued to grow. As you can imagine, this is something that we're following very closely, and I am pleased to note that bilateral trade has seen a year-over-year increase of over 7% since September 2017, as consumers on both sides take advantage of reduced tariffs under the agreement. Let me give you a quick sense of the very solid foundation on which we have the privilege to build further our economic relations. Canadian direct investment in Poland accounted for $282 million in 2017, with investments into multiple sectors of the Polish economy. Companies such as CGI, Circle K, Pratt & Whitney Canada, Bombardier, Horizon, Heli One, Magellan, Aerospace, Valiant, Apotex, BlackBerry, and Magna support over 16,000 jobs in Poland. Over 2,000 Polish companies export goods and services to Canada, and Polish firms such as PKN Orlen Upstream, KGHM, Techland, Comark, and Inpost operate in Canada, a testament to our robust two-way commercial relationship. We look forward to the national ratification of CETA by Poland, which will allow both of our countries to derive the full benefits of this progressive agreement, adding a new rich chapter to our shared history. Speaking of history, as you know, and as we've discussed, a few of us, Canada, along with other countries, recognized an independent Poland in 1919. But as I already mentioned, our people-to-people ties go back further still, especially when you consider the role that Poles played in building Canada. And our ties have only grown from there. We are NATO allies, as I've mentioned, but we also cooperate in many multilateral forums on issues of shared interest, including at the United Nations, where Poland, of course, currently has a seat on the Security Council. And as you may know, small plug, we're running for a seat for 21-22, and we're looking for votes. Another forum where we are working together, particularly now, and one that is important for the Government of Canada, is the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, or coming up COP24. Indeed, this year, Poland is demonstrating global leadership again by hosting the Conference of Parties in just a few weeks in Katowice. Poland can count on the very strong support from Canada in Katowice as it works to broker consensus and to guide parties towards an ambitious outcome. Indeed, it was our pleasure earlier this fall to host Minister Corteca in Halifax when Canada's Environment Minister, Catherine McKenna, convened her G7 counterparts under Canada's G7 presidency. There's no question that there's urgent work to be done globally with respect to climate change, and so I'm particularly proud that our countries are working together on this. On a personal note, I'm a big fan of Warsaw, and one of my favorite ways of exploring this beautiful city has been on my bike. It's terrific that Warsaw has such an excellent bicycle infrastructure, and I have to say that I was delighted when I arrived in Warsaw to see all the activity on the bike paths, rollerblading, biking with families, and volleyball along the beach volleyball pits near where I crossed the river. And now every morning when I cross over on my bike, there are two very active rowing clubs out there every morning on the river. It's really fantastic. Bardzo lubię jeździć na rowerze po Warszawie. On the official visits front, let me welcome most warmly the fact that Speaker Stanisław Karczewski conducted an official visit to Canada just last week with productive meetings with counterparts in the Canadian Parliament, the House of Commons, and the Senate. Unfortunately, the planned visit to Poland of our Speaker of the Senate, George Fury, did not occur owing to illness, but I welcome in this regard the visit to Warsaw in June of Canada's Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship, Ahmed Hussein. And this past September, we had the pleasure of organizing substantive trade and political consultations between our Assistant Deputy Minister, Stephanie Beck, and senior officials in the Polish government. My thanks again to our Polish hosts for your engagement in these consultations. Canada has an abiding interest in Poland, as we do more broadly in Europe as a whole. After the United States, the EU is Canada's most important partner in the world, one with whom we share fundamental common values and interests, including democratic governance and the rule of law. The EU is a security partner for Canada, it is a commercial partner for Canada, and also, of course, it is an indispensable political and diplomatic partner for Canada, one to whom we turn and with whom we want to work whenever we tackle global challenges or common threats. As such, we have a keen interest, a self-interest, in a strong and united EU. And in this regard, we believe that Poland can play a leading role within the Union as one of its most important countries. Certainly Poland is one of the EU's most dynamic countries, and as Poland continues to grow, we want to be right there along with you every step of the way. I hope it is clear from my remarks this evening how truly invested Canada is in Poland and in Europe, through our history, of course, and through our people-to-people ties, through our pursuit of joint prosperity and security for our people, both here and on our side of the Atlantic. I hope it is also clear from my remarks how proud I am to be among you. I think we should all feel blessed to be part of such a strong relationship, and there's still more we can do together. On global issues that affect us all, it is crucially important that the countries come together to work out solutions, since no single country can hope to solve these challenges alone. From what I have seen since my arrival, I can see that Canada and Poland can speak frankly to each other as longtime friends, even if we might occasionally disagree on substance, like all friends do. Many of you have already welcomed me warmly, and for that, I thank you very much. For those of you that I have not yet had the pleasure of meeting, I look forward to doing so and to our future collaboration. I would now like to invite you to please sample the creations of our wonderful Chef Camille and enjoy the rest of the evening. Merci à tous et à toutes. Dziękuję bardzo za uwagę. Zapraszamy do bufetu.